Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I am speaking with Ashton York. He has just released a fantastic new record called Nightmare in Your Arms, and I'm super excited to talk to him all about it. Ashton, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy weekend to do this. What's up? How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, stoked to have you. Stoked to talk all about this record. How's your weekend been so far? What's news?
Uh, it's been fine, I wait tables at a restaurant and
For sure.
I play drums at this church in the East Bay, and so it's just been busy. But I was glad to make this happen. It's a weird world
Yeah.
living in musically, just two strangers talking over the internet about my album. This is how it goes now for
Nice. Well,
independent.
I hope we're not strangers at the end of this conversation.
Yeah, it's great.
But
Yeah.
right now, yeah, this is my first time talking to you. But
Yeah.
I actually, to segue, I do feel super connected to this music. Obviously, I took the opportunity to listen to this album, and it's wonderful. It's like really like a culmination of the last 20 years as best indie artists, like singer-songwriter music, but like in your own way, which is the highest of compliments in my opinion. Everything about it, from like the lyricism to the way your voice sounds to just the way that it was constructed, is beautiful.
Thank
And now that your ego is completely inflated,
Yeah.
let me please, I would love to know what it's about. Like, what do these songs mean to you? And is there an overarching message to the whole record, or is it a series of individual stories?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's definitely a little more conceptual and concise than my past work. Um, I remember I woke up in the middle of the night uh, next to an ex-girlfriend, and the album title just was in my head. It's
Oh
just
my God.
I just woke up and I was like, "Oh, Nightmare in Your Arms." That's the name of the project.
Yeah, and I'm assuming she was your girlfriend at the time, not
Yeah.
an ex-girlfriend at the
Well,
moment.
yeah,
Well, I mean, maybe in your head, but who knows?
but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, honestly, man, that record is just about uh, how, I mean, I guess the way I think about it is it's just a lot of, um, it's a cause and effect record, I suppose.
sure.
It's just about like someone who's grieving and really hurt and like does not know how to be a good friend or partner or
Yeah,
relative. Um, it's I guess I look at that record. Wow, I thought this would be an easier question to answer, but
that's
it really
okay,
is.
man.
It really is just like how I got to be, just like
Yeah,
the mess that I was when I wrote that record. That's kind of what
I
it's about,
understand.
you
I mean,
know?
it feels deeply personal. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is really personal and it's a really vulnerable record and you know, I guess there was a sort of a play on words with the album title.
mhm.
It's like one way to look at it is like you're having kind of a nightmare in your lover's arms, literally, and then uh, the other way to look at it is that you are the nightmare in your lover's arms.
Yeah,
And so I sort of uh, liked how that worked out, and that was true. As I wrote that whole record before I got sober, and
mhm.
it was just uh, it was just in real time, just
Sure.
processing how shitty my life had gotten, and so I don't know. I hope that helps, but I guess
It
that's
totally helps. And listen, sometimes things are better less said because then it gives the listener an opportunity to kind of connect the dots in their own way. Um,
sure.
Obviously, it's a very lyric forward record, and there's plenty of instrumental highs and moments that certainly stand out. But just based on if someone was to listen to for the first time, I think they would get that. Yeah, this is coming from a deep place in a serious situation, and it also gives them the opportunity to learn a little bit about you,
Yeah.
which is always great when you're listening to artists you may not be familiar with.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
And in terms of like the production, the process of making it. Around how long did it take you, and what did it look like to really put it all together?
Yeah, well, it took longer than I think it did. I was just thinking about this
Sure.
yesterday. I was looking back. One of those features that Apple has now on the iPhone is you can go
Yeah.
back by year and
Yeah.
time. And that was really interesting. I realized that we went into the studio a lot earlier than I thought we did.
Okay.
And I was pretty fucked up for a lot of it.
Hey,
Uh,
you know what? It
yeah,
happens.
yeah. It was really an awful time. No pun intended there.
Sure.
But yeah, let's see. I guess I wrote the earliest songs like "Impossible" and "Stranger" in
Hmm.
May or April of 2020,
Sure.
and then when I was living in Long Beach, but before I moved up to San Francisco, I demoed out like a whole record, and I thought it was going to be called Lakewood Boulevard, and it was a bunch of songs, and then I just couldn't get that thing off the ground for some reason.
Okay.
And then time passed, and I found myself in the city, and I wrote a bunch more songs, and then you know, the universe kind of just put everything together. It's like at some point I just knew like, okay, I have the record, and I wrote down all the songs, and I knew the order they were going to be in like a long time before we hit the studio,
Nice.
and yeah, I mean, it was a long process, but along the way, I hired this dude Kyle Crane to play drums on it, and I had met him in LA. I used to like follow him around and
Okay.
digs and stalk him,
Nice.
and then I had Abby Gunderson play strings, and she did a lot of background vocals, and um, she's played with plenty of people I'm a big fan of, and
Yeah.
she's in that world already. So it was cool. I was able to work with some really, really talented artists, and we finished it up. Shoot, like right before the release. I didn't even have time to strategize or put the record out or have any PR or anything like that. It was just like
Sure.
I just knew it was going to come out on November 11th, which is my father's birthday, and the
Wow.
record is dedicated to him. He
Oh
passed
wow.
away in 2017, and I knew I had that deadline, and so we finished the record probably totally finished mixing in October. I decided not to master it. I didn't send it out. I didn't do any of that shit. I just put it up, and
I really honestly wouldn't even be able to tell the difference.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm not
totally.
joking. I'm not just saying that either. I'm truly
Well,
like,
that's why I didn't master it, dude. Because
yeah, it didn't make
it's
a
we're just living
difference.
in a time where it's like it's just gonna
Yeah.
get squashed anyways and like
Ah,
uploaded to
yes.
Spotify. Like it's not,
Totally.
I don't know. If there's like other young artists like listening to this,
And there are. That's the thing is there are,
yeah.
and I hope that they do take cues from that because if
Well,
you
just
can,
recognize, I've had to really
sure,
recognize where I'm at as an artist, and I'm just not
right,
there yet. Like, no one's like asking for like pressed vinyls of this record. Like, it's just
yeah,
it doesn't matter. So I'm glad about that. I know I'll remaster it someday,
yeah.
but that's kind of it took 2 or 3 years to make this record.
Wow,
Yeah. It was-
damn, good for you, man. Well, obviously the final result is beautiful, and yeah, I mean, I'm always going to urge people to listen to it. I do want to know though, because it does take and pulls from a lot of different genres and styles, but it also totally kind of sounds like its own thing. Like you've got those strings and you've got those really like atmospheric production elements to it. If you had to call it something, or if you had to put a label on it, what would you call it, or how would you describe it to someone who hadn't listened to it before?
yeah. Well, um, I never know how to answer that question because everybody has their own frame of reference.
Sure. And there's no right answer, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Um, but I mean, I guess like for me, my frame of reference is like, okay, this kind of reminds me of like a little Damian Rice, a little Elliott Smith, a little
Sure.
fucking like Mark Linkous in some ways. some of the picking is kind of like Mark Kozlicki, and I there's a little Sufjan because of the double vocals, and
Totally. I mean, that was my major pull from it. Like the first song was like, wait, do I have the right record here? So,
yeah,
but in the best way possible, because I mean, who
yeah.
doesn't love that guy?
I sent it to one of the artists that's on his label, and he
Yeah,
really liked it, but nothing really
that's
came of
awesome.
it. And
Yeah,
so that's it's
that
it's it's
happens.
it's that was my least favorite part of
Just another day in SF.
fucking bullshit, man.
I know.
Can I curse on here? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you could say whatever you want.
All right,
There's
cool.
no rules.
But
I feel you.
yeah, the uh, it has been an interesting thing because I didn't put too much time into like thinking about how I was going to release it and who to send it around to. But now I just have this thing that's like really good that I believe in,
Yeah,
and like
seriously.
it's just it's already just gone. Like it's might as well not exist in some ways. It's just like
Whoa, don't say
all of
that.
my
I think it's tough because I think as an artist, there's a baseline level of perfectionism. Like you want it to be right, you want it to be the right way, and then you spend literal years working on it, and then it comes out on a random Friday, and then
right,
it disappears into the void with the thousands of other albums that also got released that day that may or may not get listeners on it.
right, sure,
I think it
yeah.
really speaks to like the time that we're living in right now in terms of the music industry, where there's just so many hands up in the air. No one really knows what's going on in a sense.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's really a difficult, thing. It's like, um, you know, uh, how do I even put this? It's just so elusive, and
yeah,
it's so saturated, and there's so much going on,
right.
and you know, I think there's a lot of great things about what the digital streaming platform era has done for us, and then there's
Sure.
also just like something to be said about like A&R guys kind of like safeguarding or whatever. Like
Yeah,
it, anybody can like do anything, and it is difficult when uh it just seems like it's a lot more about like brand and vibe and like even like politics and identity politics and like
yeah.
people identify. It's like it's you can't just like write songs that are good and then like produce them and make them sound really good and then put them out and then someone's like, oh, like this is really great. It's like you gotta like have the whole package,
Dude,
and
it's ridiculous. It's like
it
if you don't
sucks.
have a Instagram presence, or if you're
Right,
not making stupid TikTok videos like 3 times a day,
totally, man.
it
And the
really is the full package of it all. It's
right.
insane.
And what's crazy is like in my little corner of the universe, like people are really, really into what I'm doing and
Right.
show up
That's
and they
yeah,
believe in it and they know. Like I did an album release show, and dude, like everyone I've ever loved was in that room that
that's
night.
incredible.
We celebrated together, and people know like how special it is, and
Totally.
how crazy that time in my life
Mhm.
was. And so that's great, but like it, getting pushing beyond that is just so difficult and trying and discouraging, but it also just is what it is. And I think I'm glad that like I made a record that I wanted to make, and it's
That's really what it's all about.
yeah,
I'm actually kind of happy that you brought that up. Is like, I wanted to know if you've played these songs in a live setting, which sounds like you have, but also if you have anything else on the horizon. I know that we're sort of at the end of the year here with touring for everyone, but do you have anything in the works, or is it something you'd like to get to in the new year?
yeah, man. Well, I'm out here in San Francisco, and uh the singer songwriter like circle here is real small. Like I actually don't know
Really?
anybody who does like what I do.
That's kind of surprising to me. I feel like it's such
Everyone tells me
an
that. Yeah, everyone's like,
I yeah.
but
I
yeah,
guess it is like a it's too much of a tech space. I don't know, or you
Yeah,
can't
well,
really survive as a singer songwriter in San Francisco anymore.
there's like two singer-songwriters that are really successful that live here,
Hmm.
and they're Bruce Coburn and fucking Mark Koslick, and they're both like in their 50s and 70s.
Right.
Like
Okay.
nobody fucking lives makes music. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of rock bands and it's a lot of rap and R&B and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which is great.
Sure.
The scene here is tricky and so I've been going through this season where I just can't buy a gig. Like people will not book me,
Damn.
and it gets frustrating. And it's like, dang, like I'm not sure what I gotta do, but I'm pretty sure that my like Spotify presence is fine, and
Yeah.
people like it's like I don't get what I don't have that people want, and I think sometimes like I start to overthink it, and I'm like,
Sure.
shit, is this just not the time to be like a straight white guy in the music industry? Like, is that what this is about? I don't know. Like,
I don't
it's
think so. I don't know. I mean, it's tough because I mean, I'm not one to speak because I'm not a booker or anything, but I'll basically go see any artist, no matter the genre. And I think maybe depending on the
sure,
venue or whatever it is, they're looking for something specific or they're looking for guarantees. You know what I mean? Like they're looking like they don't want to host a night and lose out on money because it's a business for them. And it
right?
just becomes this insane kind of
Yeah,
inner working of just seeing the capitalistic tendencies of these, you know,
totally. Yeah,
venues and shit.
it is like I'll book you if you can, if people will come and buy drinks. It's like, that's how
Right.
it is. And that's how LA was too, but it was a lot easier to like
Yeah,
get,
there's a
I guess, for like
million venues down here.
there's a million people down there, and so but I did book a show with this small little uh, I don't know, event promotion
Sure.
organization called Outhouse,
Okay.
and that'll be at Adobe Bookstore in the Mission.
Nice. Is
And
there a is there like a So Far Sounds up there? I know that they're like kind of one of the
oh,
bigger.
bro,
Are they? I don't know. I mean, I know
they
them, but
are the worst.
really, let's talk shit
Yes,
on them. What did they do? I want to know.
fuck so far, fuck so far. Oh, no, they're like, they're run by volunteers,
Okay. Okay.
and I went or I don't know how that works, but I know that like maybe they make like a small stipend or whatever, but
Sure.
their bookers are all like local SF people. And I went to a show like not that recently anymore, but several months back, um and I just wanted to check it out, and I watched the artists, and they were all fine. Like,
Sure.
not trying to be a dick, but like
No, 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 man. That's your opinion.
none of them were like anything that's like
I
kind
get
of
it. I get it.
at the very beginning of like they had just
Sure.
started doing this, and I've been doing it since I was like 9 or 10, and so sometimes it's just like hard to watch like when people are like getting these opportunities.
Sure.
Um anyways, so I chatted with the booker, and she was like really sweet, and she was like, yeah, like we got to put you on, like, reach out to me, here's my Instagram, like I'd love to listen to your shit. And I did, and dude, she ghosted me for months. And like people are like busy and they have lives, and I get
Yeah.
it, but
But
like
months is not. That's not
no.
acceptable.
And then I like started like I'm really like an annoying person when I get frustrated, and
Sure.
so I started calling them out on like Instagram, and I got like 10 of my friends to tag So Far SF and be like, book this guy.
Oh
And
shit.
I sent it to her. I sent the whole thing, and
Mm-hmm.
she left me on red again, and I never heard from So Far. And I just know, dude, like I just know that like for what I do, like, you know, as an independent DIY singer-songwriter, like,
Totally.
I'm one of the best you're gonna find in the city. I've just been doing it a long time, and like,
Right.
and I'm putting out like good music. And so it's like, it's not a, it really isn't. It's just a self-worth thing. It's not an ego thing. It's like
Totally. Of
I just know what I'm worth, and I know that when I play, like people really respond. I play a great
course.
show, and I've been doing it a while. And so
I don't
uh,
doubt that for a second. And
it's
if anyone from So
frustrating.
Far is watching this, book this man right here. This is real talent.
But I will
Um,
say, in their defense, I never actually went online and like submitted because I did that in the past, and that's not how I booked the first one in Long Beach.
okay,
Just through like what I did this last time. So,
sure.
anyways, but I am curious. You know, I know you don't probably have tons of time, but I'm curious. Like, who are you, and like, how did you end up doing this? And like, did you? I don't know. I just have tons of questions. I guess like, did you have a favorite song on the record, and how's it going in LA? Like, what is happening with music?
So my name is Austin, sure.
Yeah.
I've been writing freelance for probably 6 or 7 years now in LA. And like any job you have, you ultimately see the people that you work for are doing a terrible job and that you can do a better job yourself.
Hmm.
So I said, fuck it, I'm going to start my own thing and see how it works. So I got this going about 4 years ago or so.
Wow.
And basically assembled a very small team of friends and other freelancers that I met along the way. It turned into more of a local thing, just like being around LA. And then obviously there weren't concerts for a couple of years. So started to focus more on like truly independent artists doing it themselves. Um, yeah, and eventually it's spiraled out to become this thing that I've grown from the ground. And um, I mean, I think that I've gained notoriety literally all over the globe. Like I spend probably 8 to 9 months out of the year traveling around the world, going to different concerts and music festivals like all over Europe and South America and North America, covering events and interviewing artists like yourself. And so here I am.
Yeah. That's so sick.
Yeah, it's great. It obviously, I was working a normal job that I hated and really just spent so much of my time building this up and creating it and doing my thing. And I mean, I went to college for marketing and business.
Okay.
So I kind of used those skills and what I learned. And I used to actually work for a ticketing company, like concert event ticketing and stuff like that. And I took what I learned from there and used contacts and kind of just parlayed it
Yeah.
into this whole thing. And here we are.
Yeah. That's what's up. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
man. And to answer your other
Exciting.
question, like I said
Sure.
on this record, I did have some favorites. The one, or I will give you two that stuck out to me. Was I Wanna Dance. I really enjoyed that one, and I also really enjoyed Nest. I thought that was pretty great as well. But one thing that I will say to anyone who's listening is, and this is going to go in the article as well, is I found this to be an unbelievably cohesive record. Like it's not one that has a particular like, oh, that's the single, like that's the one that's going to be on the radio. Rather, just like a wonderful start to finish listen that puts you in a specific mood and it holds a certain vibe and it's best listened to start to finish. It's not a
Yeah.
shuffle record. It's not one to cherry pick songs on playlists. Obviously, add these songs to playlists, but really just like a great record that is meant to be listened from start to finish.
Yeah. Well, that means a lot. I really appreciate you saying that. That's exactly how I feel about it. And yeah, if I mean, it feels good to have something cohesive, but I can't just listen like, I can't just put one song on from that. It's like
No,
if I
no. If you're gonna listen to it, listen to the whole thing. Do your
yeah.
thing. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So,
I actually have one more question for you, and it's maybe the most important question.
yeah.
It's basically for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the person that's going to listen to your music for the first time. What is an opening message that you'd like to say to them before they hit the play button?
Um, that's a great question, man. Well, uh, I am a nice guy, despite what I said about the
That's
booking
okay.
stuff. But I would say, I would say, you know, I would say that all of my music is really, really earnest, and it's not something I ever set out to do. I don't like sit down and like, okay, what song am I gonna write today?
Yeah.
It's like I. I've had a lot of lived experiences, and I feel like these songs are, you know, kind of given to me in some ways.
Yeah,
And um, I think that it's really hard to find like really genuine music like this, and uh, or at least that's what I hear from the people that listen to it.
sure.
And I guess the other thing I would like to say too is that it's okay to feel,
It is.
and uh, I hope that I hope that in listening to the record, people feel like they can resonate with something, or it makes them feel a little less alone.
Yeah,
Some of the material is like kind of intense, and I hope that um, ultimately, my music, yeah, um, gives you an emotional experience that matters, and
I think it
hopefully
will.
also. So
Awesome, man. Well, please let me plug your album for you one more time before we wrap up here. If you missed it the first time around, the record is called Nightmare in Your Arms. This is Ashton York. He's making amazing music, and I can't recommend it enough. We will have links in the article so that people can listen and share and follow along and just stay tuned for what else is on the way. But Ashton, I sincerely want to thank you for taking the time. I also want to point out that I've done almost 300 of these interviews, and you are the first person to ask me about myself, which says a lot about you as a person, and I totally respect that.
well, I'm really curious, and I could tell that you have like a really cool thing going. It's really smart. Like the way you set it up is really smart, and
Thank you.
I was glad to be able to support you, and it seems like it's a mutually beneficial thing. So
I'd really like to think that.
yeah, yeah. Good luck, and I hope to see you around, man, at like
Dude, yeah,
festivals
if you're
someday.
ever in LA, you have my info. If I'm ever there, I have your info, man.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Well, I'll shoot you a message, and I wish you the
please
best
do.
so
You too,
much.
man. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
All right, bye bye.